BYSE. Big U Sports and Entertainment TV.
You already know what it is, baby. We got action. Good morning. How you doing? We got action, ladies and gentlemen. Plenty of action. Let's go.
All right. So we got him in the studio, guys.
Yes,
the
sir.
famous
Let's go.
Colin Rogers, Mr. We Got Action.
Hey, we got action. You already know what it is. It's another phenomenal day. Lights, camera, action. Main attraction. We put shine on those student athletes. You already know.
All right. So we heard that you got a movie coming soon.
Hey, man, big business coming around here. Big business. We got a movie showcasing these athletes, showcasing their talent from all around the nation. Big business.
Okay. So tell us about your childhood.
Oh, man, my childhood was amazing, man. I mean, we went outside, we played a lot, we had fun, we played tag. But I had my downsides, you know what I'm saying? I was always small. So when it came down to playing football, you know, I was always picked last or I wasn't picked at all. It made it exciting for me because it made it very challenging. So over the years, I had to get bigger.
Okay. So is that when you started your life of crime?
Oh, man, definitely, man. My crime life for me was just like, man, be intimidated.
Okay. Preview, baby. This is bad TV.
Yeah, we just
Don't be late for the rush hour with Kiba Rush. Only on BYSE. Big U Sports and Entertainment TV.
Got a yard like a car lot, garage full of more foreign cars than your favorite star got.
Overall, this power suit, it's beneficial for me when I worked out in it. Snug fit when I first tried it on, and then as I got through the workout, it formed to my body, and overall it helped me with explosiveness and things throughout our workout.
You feel it once you start, so you're not going to feel like, oh, I can do this every day. It's not like that. You're really going to feel it. That's what the creators had in mind.
Let's go!
If you're an athlete, it'll benefit you. I promise you. It's not a waste of your time or your money.
Let's go!
Hey man, it's your boy Hall of Fame TV. Welcome to the Hall of Fame hour, man. Where all the great highlights going down. You get the in-depth, in-field, all sports. Check us out. BYSE TV, Hall of Fame. Let's get it.
Welcome to Phoenix Sports Gear, your gridiron store on the go, where we bring you the hottest gear from the hottest brands, such as Battle, Shampoo, Shock Doctor, and more. We also carry football cleats, new and used shoulder pads from Shampoo, Schultz, Rydell, Xenix, and more. Don't forget, we also have visors, socks, mouth guards, practice pants, practice jerseys, and more. Check us out online and in store.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be getting that action. And we're outside. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Tell it, baby girl. Tell it, baby girl. Hey, y'all. Got big news coming, y'all. Big news coming. First to hear it, y'all, right here. We got action. Hey, we just sealed the deal with BYSE TV. Locked and loaded. Baby girl, tell them what you feel about that. She's camera shy, y'all. Don't worry about that. Hey, but back to this business, y'all. And we got action just locked in. Let's go. Let's go.
Pressure. I cannot crack under pressure.
You are now about to witness the strength
of the Big U Sports League.
This is Coach Reginald Samples, 6A state champion, Duncanville High School, and I'm Texas made.
Yeah, we Texas made. Yeah, we Texas made. Yeah, we Texas made. Hey. Every Texas made, that means we Texas made. In the lax, counting plenty stacks, Texas paid. Every night and every day we grind a lot to shine a lot. Right now out here catching phase, I'm working a lot, ain't trying to stop. Y'all don't know what to do with Texas. All y'all think we drivers Lexus, riding horses in our forces, diamond East necklace, acting young, eat reckless, but we got a lot of sense. And if it don't make dollars, bet it make a lot of sense. Signing in our hills at 12, putting trophies on our share. Everything we do is big, so I'm counting down my way. Texas legends in these streets, doing things, packing heat. For these haters in these other states, then we gon' compete. Like the Lord in the Bible, we be someone trying to keep me, but I pray every day and bet I make a lot of hits. Got the Lord in the Bible, we be someone trying to keep me, but I pray every day and bet I make a lot of hits. Texas legends, every Texas legends, I see guys out here playing video games. We Texas legends, every Texas made.
All right. This is Pat Boteezy from the Dub Band. We here with the legend, the Godfather, Coach Reginald Samples. And man, welcome to Texas Made. This is a series about people that were made in Texas and made their name in Texas. So really what I need to do, because I've had a lot of coaches speak for you, and they, man, damn good stuff. So really what I want from you is just your history. You started out at South Oak Cliff High School, right?
As a football player?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
All right, what year did you come out? Was that 1972 or 3?
73.
73. All right, when I saw the picture, I was like, man, this is a dude I go in the alley with for a fight, because you look like you didn't play back then. What was your attitude and kind of the player you was back then?
Well, my attitude was basically survival. I grew up in the hood, working mom and stepdad. So my attitude was just trying to carve out a future for myself, because I knew that financially my parents weren't able to pay to go to college. So I knew athletics was going to be my vehicle to try to have some future success.
Reginald Samples. Finally got him one, state champ, well respected, known in the hood, known in all circles as the Godfather. Tell me, when you first met Coach Samples, what was your first encounter with him?
Back when I was going to the 9th grade, I met him going up to Lincoln, for summer workouts as a freshman. And, we had a pretty good little freshman class coming in with me, Joe Thomas, Dean Boyd, Donovan Robson, and a bunch of other guys, Bullock. And my first encounter was, success at Lincoln, they really had won a lot in football, so we really were the first class that started to change as far as Lincoln started to become, pretty good in football. So my first thing was about work. I remember going to that old gym, lifting weights for the first time and just kind of learning what work ethic was and what it took to play at the high school level. So it was all based in the summertime, like this time right about now. Going up to Lincoln every day at 4 o'clock. My freshman had to be the 91 season, the 92 senior class.
Okay. That's crazy because my wife went to Lincoln. She graduated in 91, so...
when she was leaving out, I was coming home in.
My first encounter, man, I was probably about 14 going on 15, walking into the weight room of Lincoln High School back in 2000. Coach Samples had a fierce weight program. I remember looking at all the kids eating those weights way back when I was little, and it always spearheaded me into wanting to work hard because I always wanted to be like the guys I saw.
My first encounter with him was, I was a hungry young coach, and I was at Crowley. I was offensive coordinator at Crowley. He had a position open, and it was a JV coaching spot. And I had been trying to work for him since he was at Skyline, so I just shot my shot and got in there with an interview. Interview lasted for 2 hours, and I actually took a step down from being an offensive coordinator to come work on the staff so I could learn from him. The interview went well, and he was just like, I got a slot job open, but just gonna be JV, and I was just like, all right, bet, let's work.
First encounter was obviously on opposite side of the fields, early on back in the Skyline days, and they did an incredible job with the kids. I think we were 1-3 against them at that time in the playoffs.
When I got there, he had been there, I think maybe 1 or 2 years, so he kind of got his feet wet already. When I came in, the senior class when I was there was pretty decent. I think they ended up finishing 6-4, 7-3, and missed out on the playoff spot. It was a heavy graduation. The next year it was like 20 of us sophomores that were moved up to the varsity, as sophomores. And I think we went like 5-5. Our junior year we went like, I think 6-4. And then our senior year we went 8-2, but we're in a 3-way tie for first place. And back in the coin flip days, we lost the coin flip, and the two teams in our district that was Samuel and Spruce, and both of them teams went on to advance, and actually went on to the third round of the playoff. They had one game away from playing each other, and that was kind of my senior year. But we kind of laid the groundwork for like the 97 team that ended up going to the fourth round and losing to Highland Park, and kind of what Lincoln prepared itself on to be. Certainly Coach Jett was my high school head coach. Coach Charles Malone was my defensive coordinator. Lester Vickers was my DB coach. And of course, after I finished high school, Coach Charles Malone gave me my first coaching job at Madison High School. So everything in my life was kind of tied to my experiences at South Oak Cliff.
So what was your first personal encounter with him, and how did you end up having the opportunity to coach with the legend?
First personal encounters were probably deck meetings and those things, or all district meetings when we were both head coaches at the time.
I'll take you out. What year did you graduate?
Graduated high school in 2004.
All right, so you were on that state championship team?
I graduated the year before that state championship team.
Gotcha. All right, but you actually got to play under the tutelage of Coach Todd.
Coach Todd, I think when I was playing, he had just got out of college, and he was a JV coach. And, you know, during that time, he was still rapping, you know, making raps battles around there. So, you know, he was fresh out of college, the hot young talent, and, you know, he was motivating from way back then.
Well, you started your coaching career with him at Lincoln.
Yes.
And so that means that puts you right square in the championship game.
Yes.
Kilgore.
Yes.
2004.
Mm-hmm.
One of the craziest endings to a championship game that I think anybody in the state of Texas has ever seen until we got to the Dunkerville years. But let's go back to Kilgore.
Yeah.
What position were you coaching? How was it to coach with Coach? And then tell me a little bit about that team.
And I actually was a secondary coach that year. Had a great group of guys that I coached on that team that I really, you know, if you look on this picture right here, you know, those guys, that's back from that season right there, you know, with those guys. And what a lot of people don't know, those guys are still some of the best players I've ever coached. You know, even going on and coaching 4-star, 5-star kids, but before stars, it was guys like these, and those guys were phenomenal. You know, it was a great time because you got to realize the year they lost was also the year, that was my 10-year reunion from graduating from Lincoln. So it was something I'd always personally wanted to do, was to have success at Lincoln High School. I didn't get a chance to do it as a player. So, you know, I was always like, I'm going to come back and we're going to go win state. Yeah, it didn't matter what role I was in. I just wanted to be a part of it. And, you know, I remember every trip, you know, along the route to get to that Kilgore game. What I tell people a lot of times is, you know, during that time, you know, I didn't know what the playoffs were like, you know, coming from Lincoln, you know, because I never really experienced it. So every game was just a new game and a new adventure that kind of, you know, was, that kind of prepared me to where I'm at today. You know, some of the guys I had on that team was led by Byron Eaton, Courtney Herndon, went to Kansas State. You had Mark Fisher, probably one of the best athletes I ever coached. Antoine Cummey, one of the smartest kids I ever coached. Chase Means. They had Big Mike, offensive lineman. Eric Russell, whose father is, he's the father of Cordell Russell. That's at TCU that went to North Mesquite, the big receiver. So we had a lot of talent on that team. And what I can say about those guys, Gerard Sneed, those guys were hungry. And they didn't really know what role we were taking, but they took it personal, and it was they really invested in that season. And that just told me that if we get these guys invested, some inner city guys from South Dallas, you know, anything is possible.
Man, you know, the funny thing is, I found a picture, and I was in Coach Todd's office. I took a picture of him with the defensive backs at Lincoln. Dude, he looked just like Gucci Man on there.
He definitely walked around with a bunch of swag as soon as he hit the block, as soon as he got back to Lincoln. I can remember that.
He had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations, that being one of them. Kind of what was the feeling of Samples that day, and you guys, you know, after that disappointing and shocking defeat?
I can go with me personally. I was crushed. You know, I was like, to the point of like if you lost a family member. You know, that's how much it meant to me.
No doubt.
Yeah, no cap, because that was something I promised that I was going to get done when I came back to Lincoln. And people, you know, they always let me know. They were like, Coach, you living your dream. You know, a lot of people don't get to live their dream, and I was actually living it. And to be that close, to see that guy run down that sideline in front of me, Nick Sanders, with that ball, you know, to be so close but yet so far away, you know. And if you can look at that, we were 3 yards away from being state champions. And then you can look back on it, and it took me 19 years to finally get those 3 yards that I was missing that day. And also for him, you know, to go through the same process. But you know, what I remember about the whole process was when we scored, I remember I ran up to Coach saying, I know he'll probably never get this as long as he's living. I ran up to him and I said, Coach Sam, we need to end this shit. And when I said that, I meant we need to get Byron Eaton the ball.
Right.
We 3 yards away from a state championship and from some little guys in South Dallas called Indy. But I knew it was a big call to make, because if you go for it, don't get it, they're going to say you're a dumb coach. And then, so then you kick the field goal and play the conventional game. I just didn't think our road to that game was conventional. I thought, we did some things that we ran against the dice sometimes.
Right.
And I ran up to him and I said, Coach Indy, and then I just walked away.
The version of Coach Samples I got, he was practicing us and still jogging around the track after practice. So it was pretty much nothing stopping him during that time. Definitely now he's a lot more calmer. He's a lot more wiser, and he thinks about things before he reacts. So it's definitely a difference from the version that coached me to the version I coach alongside.
What people don't know, a lot of time back in Lincoln, Coach Samp was like probably the more laid-back person you could talk to. It was actually, he had a coach named Coach Lewis that was more like the person everybody was scared of and running from every day. So, with Coach Samp, he was more laid-back. He'd get on your butt, but that wasn't his kind of, that wasn't his thing all the time. That he'd get on you when he needed to. But at the same time, that was kind of Coach Lewis's role more than Coach Samp. Coach Samp was kind of more like the brains behind the operation at that point in time. And, I've seen the progression and the change, from when I was a player for him, then as a coach underneath him at Lincoln, and then the change when we went to Skyline, and probably on to this point right now, where you can see the different phases and the different changes that you were making mention to also.
So one thing I'll say about Samples is, his coaching tree is large, but the theme I'm starting to realize is that a lot of people that coach for him, in some instances are people that played for him before.
Yeah, he definitely will give back. I could say, as soon as I got out of college, he definitely extended his hands to get me hired on. He actually didn't have a job for me when I got out of college, and he was like, hey, I got a TA job, but, if Lincoln have a teaching job for you, take that job. And just advised me. He put aside the fact that he needed a D-line coach and actually just steered me in the right direction. Then, I ended up coming back to coach back with him 3 years later.
You're an insider. You get to work with him day to day. You get to kind of see how his methods are and stuff. What makes him one of the greatest of all time?
It's his attention to detail. I've worked for a lot of great head coaches. I've never worked for one that watches as much video as he does. Every aspect of the game, kicking, defense, offense, he's on top of it. So when you show up in the morning, you better be ready and have watched the day's video from the prior day, because he's watched it. He's watched practice, offense, defense. He'll have a list, and he's checking it twice like Santa Claus.
I even took the idea of the cart. Coach Sam, he ride along in the cart, and most people think that he ride along in that cart because his knee is not healthy, and that's not the case. He rides along in that cart because when we're doing Indy, he can ride around. He can see everybody's Indy drill. When we're doing, if 7-on-7's on this side and inside's on this side, he can go around and see both. And when I asked him about it, and he told me, one of the first things I asked for when I got this job is, hey, can I get a cart?
How does he coach the coaches?
I think he brings the best out of us, one way or another. I always tell people he's either going to run you off because you don't want to work, or he's going to push it to your greatest potential. He coaches like he coaches the kids. Same expectation, and what's more importantly is he's never telling us to do anything he's not willing to do. He's never telling us to do something he hasn't done. So he holds himself to that same expectation and accountability. So he holds the coaches the same way. And honestly, if you're somebody who's driven and desired desiring and want to elevate, it's not a problem.
All right, we're here with Colin Simmons, 5-star. Everybody in the nation want him. So, hey, this is about Coach Samples, though, man. What makes Coach Samples Texas made? What makes him the GOAT of all time?
Man, just everything. Like his character, how he carry himself, the father figure he is, and just everything, honestly.
How was the feel of the city in Oak Cliff at that time?
Oh well, you know, the Golden Bears we felt like we were the thing going. Of course, my sophomore year, the year I guess it was '71 when they lost to Odessa Permian. They were probably one of the best teams in the state. They had Donnie McGraw and Quick Draw McGraw and Wayne Morris. My junior year, we lost to the Carter. That was the year that Carter kind of came in when they opened up the boundaries and sent the kids from Singing Hills to Carter High School. And of course, we had junior choice, so I wasn't. They didn't make me go to Carter. I had the opportunity to stay at SOC, and I did. And we had one loss that year, and then my senior year we ended up dropping off to about 6-4, 5-5. That was probably one of our down years at South Oak Cliff.
We had two new coaches that came over that just came down from the college ranked, Coach Sands and Coach Carter, I believe. Both of those guys walked up and like, Coach, you got to keep the field goal. You got to play the numbers game. And all I remember, Coach Sam called timeout. Byron and all those kids were walking over there. And all I remember was Byron each time looking at Coach Sam saying, Coach, give me this fucking ball. I'm going to end this shit.
Right.
And we perked that vibe and chill that thing through me. If we lose giving it to Byron, I'm going to take it wholeheartedly.
It's what you're asking for. You're asking to be groomed in that manner of greatness.
I'll never forget when Byron Eaton was walking toward that sideline, like telling Coach Sam, give me the fucking ball. You know, and like, that's a cheer because he's the best player I've ever coached.
Right.
And sometimes when it's the player, I'm going to listen to the player, damn the coaches.
You know what? I think in that game, you probably learned some lessons there that you kind of kept in your computer brain and say, hey, when this situation arises again.
Yeah.
Coach Samples is one of those head coaches that you want to coach for, and you know he's making you better, so you want to do your very best for him. To me, that's a trait that the really great head coaches have. You do not want to let him down. And so I felt that coming in, absolutely. You know, there was no, if we didn't win state, I would have felt like we failed.
I wasn't coaching at this level until I got to Duncanville. It's a totally different realm. Coaching under him and his organization and his expectations is totally different. But if I had to describe him in one word, it would be aggressive.
Every time we talk about the Godfather, and you know, it's serious, his expectations, old school, holds you accountable. Does he have a funny side?
He's probably one of the funniest dudes I ever seen. Definitely has a great sense of humor. Definitely will laugh with you. It's not all get it with him. He has times where he takes his hat off, relax. Has times where things that would normally make you mad or stress you out, he'll pull you aside and say, hey man, don't sweat it, you can't control it, laugh with you. And you know, I know today, I mean, even right now, he'll tell me, hey man, we're too blessed to be stressed. So, you know, he definitely got a funny side to him, man. He'll have you rolling.
Just my whistle and my keys, like I got this from Sam. If you ever see Sam, he gonna have a whistle on and pins on his whistle.
It was a great experience for me because more than anything else, I just wanted to play football. I wanted to have an opportunity to go to college and have a future after high school. So really, for me, it was just like living in a movie because all of my dreams were fulfilled. I got a chance to go to college on scholarship. Got a chance to play a little football. Of course, during that time, we struggled at UTA because it was a commuting school. It was sitting between Dallas and Fort Worth, and we didn't have that fan base to really support us in a way that it attracted big-time athletes. So we always played with the average football players. We did a great job with the kids that we have. But for me, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was watching a News 8 video from like 1975, and they were talking about getting rid of football back then, and football players are complaining about the student body as well. It's like, hey, y'all just come to school and go home. Y'all don't care about anything else that's going on here. But also I found interesting that Royce West was a football player up there.
Yeah, Royce when I came to UTA, Royce was a senior on the football team. And he was one of those guys that was really inspirational for me, being on a college campus like that we were the minority. It's basically a campus where the Caucasians was the leading group of people that attended there. And so Royce was a guy that helped me in my maturation and adjusting to what was going on at UTA.
And so that's why we see Royce on the sidelines now?
No, I think more than anything else, Royce and I have always had a great relationship, and this is one of his areas that he represents. And I think Royce is the kind of guy that, he's going to be out there in support of his constituency. That's just the type guy Royce is. High school in 78.
Okay. All right, good deal. You started as, what did you?
I was a head freshman coach at Madison, and stayed there, coached freshman football for 7-8 years, had an outstanding group of kids, and I think we probably won about 5 or 6 district championships. I went on from there to be the offensive coordinator at Madison, and served there for 4 or 5 years as the offensive coordinator before having an opportunity to get the head coaching job at Lincoln.
There's a lot that he did, not just X's and O's, but how he runs his organization that I guess I could say I proudly stole, and I'm bringing it over here, and it's paid off. It's paid off.
You know what? That's every single coach has said that his attention to detail, weights. He'll go to freshman games, and I was my son played for him. I was sitting down with my wife watching a freshman game, and he pops up and sit right by me. And I'm like, Coach.
Well, the lure was I just wanted an opportunity to be a head coach. That was my goal in life. And turning it around wasn't very difficult because I'd already worked in South Dallas at Madison for 12 years. So I knew the lay of the land. I knew where the athletes were. I knew how to deal with the athletes. And I just felt comfortable going from Madison to Lincoln. They were actually the same type of schools. So it didn't take long. As a matter of fact, I didn't ever have a losing record at Madison. One year that I would have had a losing record, Wilma Hutchins forfeited a game, and my record went from 4-6 to 5-5. So I claim to have always had a winning record, and I had great experiences turning that program around. When I got the job, they were 1-19 over the 2 years before I got there, and once I got there, we took off. As a matter of fact, after I left Lincoln, we beat Madison. Before I went, Madison dominated Lincoln. Once I got to Lincoln, we beat Madison after the first year. We lost the first year, and then we beat them 10 straight years.
Hey, that's the samples effect.
He's aggressive with his practice schedule. He's aggressive with how we practice. He's aggressive with his coaches' meetings. You know, he's not gonna sugarcoat anything. He gonna get straight to the point. And you gotta have a thick skin to be able to work for him. But if you got a thick skin, you're gonna grow.
Quite a few of your coaches actually played for you. Coach Todd, tell me your first encounter or you know, when you recognized Todd, because I know he was a character probably from the start.
Well, not really, Todd. I remember Todd coming from Pearl C. Anderson. I knew Todd before he ever got there because Todd's granddaddy was my principal at South Oak Cliff. So once I got to Lincoln and heard the name Todd, immediately I knew that he was the grandson of my principal. So, you know, that relationship just blossomed from there because, you know, I was very familiar with his granddad. He was very familiar with me. Todd was a good athlete. You kind of had an inkling that he was going to be a coach because even in high school before he graduated, he was very knowledgeable of football and a student of the game. So it doesn't surprise me that he's been the type of coach and type of leader that he's been at South Oak Cliff.
Man, you know, really, that move of going to Skyline, back out, boy. I'm doing something. Thank you.
Well, that's interesting you said that because with all the guys that I've interviewed before this, a couple of guys played for you, and then you actually hired them as their first coaching job. So it just kind of recycles.
Yep, it does. Well, you know, once you've worked with people and gone through the ups and downs, you find out, you know, one of my favorite sayings of philosophy is "A Measure of a Man" by Martin Luther King. And I just believe that once you go through the hard times, you find out about people you want to be with when you go forward and you try to carve out your future.
Next year, right?
Yeah, next year. Yeah. That's we went to Christmas break, came back by March. I think he was heading over the Skyline.
All right, Coach. So after Lincoln, I mean, you turned Lincoln into a perennial power. And then what was the thinking of going to Skyline? My older brother went there, and we used to call it Square Line back in the day. So what was the thinking of going out to that job?
Well, just first of all, they offered me a better salary. The circumstances were different. It was a magnet school. It was one of the largest schools in the state of Texas. And it was just an opportunity to have more resources and have a better opportunity. I feel like it gave me a better opportunity to win. And that was the reason, along with the fact that one of my high school teammates was the principal, Leslie Williams, and we had a great history as men together, as teammates and so I just couldn't turn the job down and the opportunity to work with my old South Oak Cliff teammate.
Absolutely. Coach Todd told me about that, so that's amazing. The run at Skyline was amazing for that school. I've told Coach Todd they had a lot of swag, loved the uniforms, all the stuff y'all did. Y'all really he said that he was responsible for the uniforms. Is that true?
Yeah, he did. He was my equipment guy.
He was your equipment guy because, he's all about the swag and making them look good. Yeah. And then I know you're old school. You be like, hey, boy, take all that stuff off.
Yeah.
So you coached my nephew, Chris Bookman, and, I'm not only mentioning him because he passed away or whatever, because I imagine as a coach over the years, you probably had multiple players that passed away or whatever, but as a family, we kind of felt like you stood up, you took care of the family. I know y'all did something in his honor after the season or the next season. Kind of what was your feeling on KB?
Well, Chris was one of those guys that I just had a natural attachment to because of the type of young man he was. He was a small kid, but he had a lot of talent. And sometimes it's very easy to look over kids because of their size. And one of the things I recognized in Chris is the same thing that I talk about all the time. He was a heck of a player. He had a heck of a desire to be good on the football field. So we just had a special little attachment because of the player that he was. and unfortunately he did pass away. But sometimes you're put in a situation for a reason, and I feel like in the end, the beginning justified the end because I was attached to him from the beginning, and then because of what happened, it was easy for me to really jump in and support the family and just express to them how much respect I had for him being the type of young man that he was.
No doubt. So speaking of players, boy, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who's the best players you've ever coached?
It's hard to say. I've coached a lot of great players, and so what I talk about is not a player, but players. And there are, I don't even like to name names because I can't justify the fact that once I get to naming names, I'll forget somebody.
No doubt.
There have been so many great ones that I just really don't even like to go there. I just so many great ones that I've had great teams and great players.
Skyline years, once again, had some weird games, weird situations. I can think of the South Lake game with the onside kick situation that was really ridiculous. And I can think of the Allen game where you lost your starting quarterback after being up by, I think, 17 points or more. How does those games define a career? Are you at this point feeling like, Lord God, what have I done? Like, why me?
No, I think the end justifies the means. I think everything happened for a reason. I think it was a test of my manhood because I could have easily quit.
Right.
And but I knew that that did not define me. I knew then that even though those things happened, I was a championship coach. You know, one of the things people fail to realize is you can say all you want about, okay, he lost and this, that. I really press anyone to find a coach who's been in the state championship 4 games, 4 years out of 4.
Right.
Find a coach, a high school coach who has the record that I have. I'm in the top 5 or 6 winningest coaches in the state of Texas. So it's like anything else. You can find what you want to look for in anything and anybody. And for me, I already know what type of person and what type of coach I have. So I am. So I don't have to wait on somebody to define me or what I've done. I don't let that bother me. Because at the end of the day, we're sitting here talking about me that now I am a state championship coach, and everything that I've done before, you know, you can say what you want to say about it, but you have to put that little crown on the top of it that all of that stuff that happened, I'm still here and I've gotten what I wanted to get. So at the end of the day, it was all worth it for me.
Coach said put some respect on my name.
Yes.
No doubt. And then Coach Ramel Barner, also from their coaching tree, also a player. And it was interesting talking to him and Coach Todd, because they talked about your maturation in coaching, you know, like, and it's just life. In the beginning, you're going to be more fiery and fired up, and then as you get older, we get into what we call pawpaw stage. But I never imagined you as pawpaw stage because you actually coached my son. What do you think your coaching style and philosophy is?
It's been the same. Basically, you know, I want to develop kids into good citizens. I want to make sure that everything we do references competing on a high level, because that's all anything that you do. You have to compete. You have to take pride in wanting to be successful. So everything that I do in coaching promotes high levels of competition. And that's basically my style. You're right. I probably in my younger days, I was more outgoing and more boisterous. And now I've learned I'm still boisterous, but I've learned a better way of doing things because I think I've gotten smarter in how to do things. So, but my philosophies haven't changed as far as how I go about approaching the game.
No doubt. So one thing that I think makes you the Godfather and why people respect you and why the whole city was cheering for you to get this championship is all the stuff you went through. Like, it has not been easy. I mean, you've had some of the I don't know, the losses have been kind of ridiculous on how it happened. Like, we go back to Kilgore.
Right.
Man, Coach Todd, I think, stayed on that Kilgore game longer than any part of the subject we talked about. How did that affect you, and how did you rebound from that?
Well, if you have faith in God, you know that we as human beings really can't control what happens to us. If that was the case, I'd probably be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys or the New England Patriots if I could make my own destiny. So, what you have to know is that God has a plan for you, and I don't let any one thing that happens define me. I just, I believe in myself, and I believe in my talents that I have as a coach and as a man. And so I believe also I believe that your pain actually defines the type of person that you are. And so I never wavered because I knew that I didn't have control over the situations that happened. So what you have to do is you just have to keep chasing whatever it is that you believe in, that you believe is in your destiny, and that's what I did, and that's what I've always done.
Man, that's an amazing summation of that, because one thing I talked to some of the coaches about was, especially after the Duncanville game, the Hail Mary, was how stand-up a man you was in that moment. Everybody else is falling out and breaking down, and you're consoling people. And I just admire that in you.
Well, it's the same thing because, again, everything speaks to how you are when things are bad. And, some of us can always smile and celebrate when everything is going good. But I really think the test of a person is how they take the downfall. And for me, again, it was not something I could control. So the best thing for me to do is to make sure that I carry myself in a way that exhibited the fact that the man that I am, I can take the good and I can take the bad.
He grew me after we had lost in the Hail Mary, and I kind of asked him, you good? Because everybody sees the look on his face. They was all over TV and all that, and he was in disbelief. But I asked him, say, man, are you good? And one thing he told me is, Coach, like, being in big games like this, you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. But the goal is to always be in the big games because you're eventually going to win some.
So when he finally won it, and especially for you, it might be a little bit different for you than when I talked to Coach Borner, but what sense did you have? Because you've won state before. You've had that feeling of winning the ultimate game, but did you enjoy this win more so for Coach Samp or for yourself?
Both. I enjoyed it for our staff. Did it feel extra special because of Coach Samp? Absolutely. The kids wanted to win for him. The coaches wanted to win for him. And he's going to demand your very best. I believe he's gotten that. And having been part of a teams where they have fallen a little bit short, that doesn't mean you're not doing a great job coaching. Things happen. And like we were talking about earlier, I think they won state in 2015, had another quarterback got hurt. And I think you could say that about one of the latter years. I know they had another quarterback got hurt. So things happen, and they're not in the cards sometimes. But it was definitely in the cards this year.
Right, a tear came in my eye. I was so happy for those kids, and I was so happy for him. Like, if you never worked on his staff, you don't really know how much work he puts into those kids, not just football. he invests a lot of his time into those kids. He invests a lot of growing moments in those kids. Like, he always had these meetings, and every meeting he dropped just these nuggets that these kids need to when they get older. And to finally see it pay off, and to finally see him raise his hands up while that water's coming down was a moment that I'll never forget. And I was just so happy for him. And even though I wasn't on his staff, you know, I felt the same joy that those guys on the staff had, just because, you know, it was time.
What made Coach Samples the GOAT? I would say his coaching tree, number one. I think he has the greatest coaching tree in Texas. If you look at all the head coaches that has came out of his coaching tree, I don't think nobody else compares to it. I think his winning record with different teams in inner city and minority schools, I think that makes him the GOAT, and just overall winning.
Consistency, right? So when you think about Coach Samples, that's what you're thinking about. You're thinking about consistency. A guy who took a Lincoln team to the state finals, a guy who built Skyline and made it into one of the best jobs in the world to have. And then you think about what he's done at Duncanville. I think when you think about Coach Samples, how many people could say they beat the 5A state champion and the 6A state champion in the same year? I don't think there's a lot of people that could say that. I know we'll probably find one guy to debate that. But, you know, that's what I can say about Coach Samples, man. Just consistency, man. Consistency is the truest measure of performance.
Yeah, the biggest thing probably was I was very opinionated as a player. Okay. He used to always call me a lawyer. You know, because I would see stuff and I'm always going to answer questions. And, you know, I'm one of them types sometimes where you tell me to do something, but tell me why. Right. You know, I want to know the whys and the hows, not just go the commandment of doing it.
Exactly.
So he always called me a lawyer when I was a player. And as I went on and I came back, it was just one day, I graduated college, I hung out an extra semester down in college, had a little fun.
Already.
Came back home, I just walked up to the school, like, Coach Sampson, I'm interested in being a coach. He like, huh? He like, well, come on, we finna go walk to Mr. Jones' office. So me and him walked to Mr. Jones' office right then. He said, Mr. Jones, did Coach Todd, I want Coach Todd, you know, what we got to do to get him on staff? He said, hey, get him an alternative certification program, this, that, and the other. And from that point, I was hired like in a matter of 15 minutes. And, you know, it was kind of based on me being a good student. You know, even though I was labeled as a, you know, a lawyer, but he knew it was a football mind that he was talking to at the same time, and somebody be good with the kids. So, you know, that meant a lot to me. Also, my grandfather was one of his principals growing up, so, you know, he knew my family. He knew what kind of stock I came from.
What's the question? All right. So what makes Coach Samples the GOAT, in your opinion?
To me, what makes Coach Samples the GOAT is Coach Todd. Shout out to Coach Samples for bringing us Coach Todd.
What are the I'll say what are the main things you've taken from Coach Samples that you use today in your tool bag?
I'll say number one thing is hard work. You know, like work. Like you gotta be able to sacrifice, and you gotta be able to get not only yourself but the people around you to be able to understand that work is not putting in the work doesn't mean you're gonna be successful.
Right.
That's the minimum requirement. You know, and like I said, that's the first thing I learned from him was hard work. Now I've adjusted some things, you know, differently than what he does and what I learned underneath him, but it still boils down to the base principle of work, loyalty. You know, you want guys around you that'll be loyal and be driven the same way you are. You know. Also, another thing, people don't realize, I think the biggest part of Coach Sam, take the wins, you can take all the, you know, he won a state championship. I think you got to look at the success that he's had as far as being a father and a husband. You know, when you can say, you know, I remember when his kids were small, when I was in school, his little girls sitting up at the top of the weight room, dressed alike, Brittany and Bianca and then the oldest one. I can't remember her name right now. I think Brittany, that may be Brittany. But I remember them sitting at the top of the bleachers. Rashad probably was just born when I was a senior in high school. So, you know, I remember seeing, them grow up. And now you look, they successful. His entire family successful. He put them all in position, him and his wife, to not live off his name, but also build on their own name and put themselves in position. You look at his son. His son's been a college coach, been in the NFL. So he's taking the stick, and now he's taking it a lot further. So I think that's the biggest part that I think a lot of people miss. All his kids went to school for free. All college graduates. No problems with any of them. Now he's got a slew of grandkids. And I think as you get older, I think when you can sit back in your rocking chair and look at what you've helped produce and to see them all being successful, I think that weighs more than winning the state championship or how many wins how many games you won, how many players you put in that were 5-star, this, that, and the other.
Right.
I think that's the true satisfaction in yourself is when you're able to build your family, also along with the same success that you built up, as a football coach. And then, a lot of people understand you got to have somebody by your side that's going to ride with you. And, because for every loss he went through, she went through as a wife. So, I think that's more of the goals that I think a lot of people don't get is that, the family aspect of this game, it's hard on the family when your father is a coach and he giving so much time and so much energy and he's judged and people on the internet say you can't coach, you're sorry, you this, that, and the other. Imagine how that feel on the family growing up for years and years and years, always hearing, Coach Sam can't win a big one. But that's your hero, as a son or as a daughter. A lot of that stuff it takes a strong family. And it starts probably, with your woman that's next to you. And I can say Miss Samples, from day one, she's always been right there. And I know she's probably seen and heard more football. And I think she's probably one person that can control his ass when, when us coaches would be like, man, God damn, why would he leave us alone? But I know he can't go home and do this. But he'll play big bad wolf in front of us. And I'm like, man, you go home, man. They running over you, Coach Sam.
What is your proudest moment in sports?
Oh, just winning that state championship. It definitely was the tip of the iceberg.
All right, and then what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, that I was someone who cared about kids, and I was here to I in my coaching that I always try to get in a situation and make it better for the kids that I work with.
If you take care of your aggregate, the second part, I'm gonna let you go. Let me tell you something. I want you to remember this saying. I want you to remember this. Association brings about assimilation. I want you to say that. Say association brings about assimilation. I'm gonna tell you what that means. That means whoever you hang around with, you are going to tend to act like and do what they do. Whoever you hang around with. So that's what I'm trying to say to you is you need to make the right decision and don't associate with people who are going to lead you down the wrong way.
Right.
Quentin Jackson, sorry running back. I'm Texas made.
Steve Barnett, 30 years in the game, owner of SEB Wolverine. I'm Texas made.
Hey, I'm Texas Blackstar and I'm Texas made.
Hey, this Coach Todd 2 times and I'm Texas made.
Somebody out there to know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in heaven. Can I get one witness? Heaven must be a lovely place. Oh, yes, it is. I'm talking about heaven. Yeah. Oh, will heaven must be a lovely place. It's a place that is paid with gold. Yeah. Can't anybody go up there? I'm talking about heaven. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Let me see you wave your hand. I'm talking about heaven. Heaven must
on tonight. I'm talking about heaven. Jesus, over 1900 years ago, he went away to a pearl place just for me and you. Yes, he did. Oh, yeah. I'm talking about heaven. I like to sing this song when I start from. A lot of people talking about heaven, but they ain't going. You got to live this life. Yes, you do. All then to make it in. Make it in. Ooh, y'all. Ooh, y'all. Yeah. When it's all over, it's gonna be said farewell and done. I'm talking about heaven. Heaven must be a lovely place.